I'm Amelia. I used to be an operating room nurse till I found out that I was pregnant, so I decided to trade in all of my scrubs so I could be with my family. Come hang out with me as I remodel my home, quilt, restore furniture, and find thrifted goods for my home. Please subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thanks! Hi DIY guys! So this episode is my Terrazzo countertop episode. So the first start you need to do is you need to measure out how big you want your countertop to be. I need my countertop to be 52 inches by, I think it was 17, is what I want it to be finished. But when you're grinding, sometimes it takes a couple layers of grinding to get through to actually expose rock, because the cement, I kind of find that the rock will settle because it, gravity. So it can take a couple passes to actually get through to see the beautiful aggregate to make that terrazzo style. So what I like to do is I like to add 2 inches to each diameter. That way, if it's 52 inches, I have an inch on this side and I have an inch on this side to shrink it down so that you can actually see the rock. And same with, the length of it. So my end results, I wrote them on my hand because I forget everything. It's going to be 54 by 19 is what I need to make my mold. So I just like to use MDF, pre-primed MDF, one because it's super cheap. It's easy to work with, and it's pre-primed, and all you have to do is caulk your seams, and then there you go. So I've got a sheet of, I think it's a 12-inch board of MDF. I'm going to have to add, of course, a couple inches for my width, and then, do my length. But okay, here we go. So the next part of this is going to be the supplies. The part that's going to make this all work is the Quikrete. I did, see if you can kind of see the label. It's tint base white countertop mix by Quikrete. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour this in here. I need to get a mask on too. I'll get a mask on for mixing everything. But the big thing with this Quikrete is that the sand in it, they didn't use like white sand, so it's not all the way white. It's more of like a cream, and it might settle white, like if you don't plan on grinding it down. Like when it dries, it looks pretty white, but if you're gonna grind it down like me, it's gonna be more of like a cream color, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. And then I have this marble powder. I'm not really convinced that it does anything. I got it off of, what is it called? Amazon. It's mainly used for crafts, but I feel like I did a sample tile, one with it and one without. And the sample tile that had this, it actually looked whiter. So I think it's more of like a tint. People use it like when you mix up gesso and stuff, and they use it like to tint paint. So it's not really like gonna harden and make anything special. It's more just to tint stuff. So this is what I'm using to tint it whiter. Next thing you have to have selected is your aggregate. And aggregate is just kind of like a stone, some kind of thing that helps everything bond together. And for me, I did landscape. This is marble landscape rock. You can find it for like, I think $4 or $5 a bag. And I think it feels like 25 pounds. It might not be that heavy, but I think it's heavy. So yeah, it actually has more gray tones in it. So if you want, like, I know like gray color schemes are really popular right now. So if that's what you want, this would actually work really great for you. Yeah, that's basically it. I'm going to mix it all together, and I don't really measure out my water. I probably ought to, but I don't. I just kind of go with the feel, and I don't really like it super soupy, and so yeah, I just kind of wing it. You know, that's just the Amy way or Amelia way, is just to wing it. So okay. Basically now you're just gonna let it sit for like, I think I let my first one sit for almost 2 months. I know that seems like a long time, but yeah, I let it dry for a long time. It's very thick. I think I made this one about 3 inches thick. Let me get out from underneath there. And it's gonna take a while to dry out. You just want to make sure that the surface is level, that way it dries level, and that's basically it. Let it dry. So let's talk about some tools. We talked about the materials. Now we're getting to the actual hard part of the job, which is the grinding. This is the time consuming. It kind of sucks, and it's kind of like back-breaking work, but you'll need a grinder. This is just a cheapo grinder from Lowe's. I wouldn't use a good grinder on this because this is really intensive on this machine, and it's really dusty, and if you know stuff gets in there, it might ruin it. I wouldn't use a $200 grinder for this. No, get a cheap one. Get one that has a cord. You don't want a battery operated grinder because it will kill your battery within like 5 minutes of grinding. And then the actual grinding part is going to be a grinding stone. You don't want something with sandpaper. It won't do anything. You need something that's a grinding stone. And this actually used to be double that size, probably out to there when I got it. And I've grinded it down, and I have another one that I've actually ground down. This grinder. This isn't much of an investment piece. It's actually made for polishing stone. And why I like it is because it comes with these diamond polishing pads, which you're gonna need. And you might think, well, oh, Amy, why don't I just get that doodad that you can stick on the actual grinder with a Velcro strap and let it still do its thing, since these are Velcro? Well, I will tell you why. Because the other grinder that I have, it goes so extremely fast. I think it's like 10,000 reps per second or minute or whatever the rep is. It goes extremely fast. So if you put a Velcro pad and this attachment onto your other grinder, it'll spin so fast that the Velcro pad will just shoot off. And trust me, I did it. So you don't have to, you know, you can learn from my mistakes. Don't do that. I was really lucky it didn't hit me. So this one actually has a speed setting. You know, you can bring it down in reps and you can really do like a slow polish or a fast one. And then this also has a hose attachment. It has this water line right here, and it hooks on right up top in that little spot, and then this spot goes to your hose. That way you're able to get a really good, nice polish. And this one's great, and it's not much of an investment, and it also has like to restart it, like if your thing starts to malfunction, you can hit the restart button. But I actually really love this grinder. And that's it for the tools. So as you're grinding, you need to make sure that you feel what you're doing. Take off any gloves you have on and just really touch it. As you move your hand across, you might feel a low spot and high spots, and then just kind of make mental notes where those places are, and then just grind. As you're grinding, you'll kind of feel your wrist kind of go into those curves with your grinder, and that's a good indication that there's a low spot that you just need to, you know, grind out. You don't want to hold your grinder at a really sharp angle for too long because it'll create a divot. So let's just say, so here it is nice and flat. You don't want to go like this in against the countertop because it'll create like a really massive divot, and when you do that you have to smooth everything out to the lowest point. So just be very cautious. Don't get too lazy and dig a corner in by accident. You don't want to do that. I've done that. Oh, it sucks because then you're basically starting all over again. So be very cautious in how you are holding your grinder nice and flat. This process took about a couple months for me to be able to complete. You can see that my hands are killing me holding something as it's vibrating, and trying to control all of its strength and madness is quite taxing on the hands. But I love these good reveals when everything is very dusty and you can wipe it clean and it's like, oh, this is why I'm doing it. So once you're done grinding and you've met your final amount of exposure of your aggregate, you can take some sandless Caracolor. I just used white grout, and all it does is it fills in those really tiny micro air bubbles. I didn't have much of it, so I just troweled it on, let a thin coat, and then wiped off the excess, and then polished it off, and it really came out great. This is my polisher. I said in the previous clips that this wasn't much of an investment piece. Well, it isn't if you're considering the cost of what it costs to make a countertop. It's about $126 for that grinder. I used water attachment, and this is after each polishing pad. So I think this is like 50, and then it goes to 100, and you can see how it starts to lighten up. The aggregate gets a little clearer. Everything is starting to feel smoother, less bumpy. And I really like watching these transformations like one by one, because to me I can really see a difference. And whoa, a little funny shot there. And then it goes all the way up to I think it was 3,500. So next you just want to establish where you want your holes to be. So I put my sink and my faucet out there, and then I used a corded drill. You don't want a cordless because it'll just eat up your battery and you won't have enough torque. And then you use a Lennox diamond plated hole saw bit, I don't think it has to be Lennox. It's just what I was able to get my hands on. And you want to make sure that the hole saw is big enough to let your pipes through. With your sink and your drain and your spigot, you should get a manual and it should tell you how big your holes need to be, and then just find the appropriate bit for that. And then here we are, putting it in. I'm so excited. Oh man. My sweet husband's very strong and was able to push it in there for me, and we the two of us carried it up. When you carry it, you want to make sure that you hold it on its side rather than holding it flat. And here we go. This is what it looked like before, just a basic concrete countertop, gray, nothing really special, but with some work and elbow grease, you can make it beautiful.